Welcome to 2025. It's been a while since we posted a video here, but it's winter time. We don't really get to do much. The garage ends up being packed full of stuff. There's really not room to work out here. But it is now April. We got parts for the car. It's time to get back to work. Starting with this.
Park, street, drift.
It's been a long time coming. The old girls needed some suspension upgrades for a while now, and I finally pulled the trigger on this. So I'm going to make a nice in-depth video because there's not a lot of information on this. There is some stuff you have to pick up besides the kit. So everything blue obviously comes with it. Your arm, lower arms, upper arms, hubs, longer tie rods. These are bolts that hold the shock mounts or strut mounts to the arms. But then you have to get hubs to go with them and longer brake lines. So these are stock SC, Supra hubs, bearings, all the goodies for that. These are not. So these are an OE part. We're going to see if they work before I put out what these are. If they work like they should, I'll put what they are, like what they're from, part numbers and such. So that'll be an easily attainable thing to go with the kit. I do think the bearings are going to have to be pressed in if I'm not mistaken, so we're going to load these in the truck real quick before we get started on the car. We're going to go over to Tim's. If you watch any of my videos, you know Tim's shop is where we do pretty much all the major work to the car. So we're going to go over to his house where he has a press. We're going to get these put together with hubs and bearings, and we're going to come back here, and this monster is going to start getting torn apart. So I'm going to try to make this pretty in-depth. I do plan to do one side first and then compare like side to side. We'll set the stock arms next to the new arms and we'll compare things and what's different, what's the same. And then we'll compare width and do some visualization on extra steering angle and such. Yeah, so get loaded up and we'll be heading for Tim's. Alright, back in the garage. Got our sidekick back with us. It's actually been almost 2 weeks since we took the hubs over. We did get them pressed in, so this is good. And as soon as we got back to the house and tried to install, we ran into a major problem. Let me explain. So you got your Wisefab knuckle and you got your stock knuckle. So this is a drop knuckle. So if you look at the distance, this isn't pulled all the way in yet. We got to finish this. But if you look at the distance from center line to the hub to where the lower control arm is picked up, that's a big distance as compared to the stock, which is just here to here. Like, that is a huge difference. So this effectively makes the car sit a lot lower. Now, we were running Silver's coilovers. Now this coilover is completely maxed. These are great. I have no complaints about these. However, these are a minimum of, I think, 2.5 inches drop. So you put this drop with this drop, and what you get is a knuckle on the car that when we tried to put a tire on, at maximum droop, this was still tucking tire inside the fender. Like, there was no way this was going to work. So we had to go and pull this, sadly, because, again, no complaints about these. These are fantastic. If you're still running stock arms and stuff on your car and you just want a good street coilover you take to the track now and then, this is fantastic. No complaints. But we're now here. So these are Feel 441s. And if you look, the issue is here. From here to here. So these will get a lot taller. And these will make up for this. So we'll actually be able to run these. Also with these, the upper mount, they have a rubber bushing in here. This is not super flexible, so when we put them on, you have your multiple mounting points here. The silvers would only hit this point. They wouldn't come out far enough to hit either of these, and even if they did, the further out here, effectively the shorter the tie rod or the coilover gets, the more space you lose under here. So it just makes the car lower and lower, and it's I know there's a lot of people that like that, but I don't want to grind the subframes off the bottom of the car. Like, we're trying to make this functional here. So now that we have the longer coilovers, we can finally start putting this thing back together. Alright, the coilovers have definitely done the trick. It looks like the brake lines I got are actually going to work too. Got a couple ideas on how I actually want to mount them, so that part's temporary for right now, but we have a corner of the car back together, and we're just about to the point we can set it back on the ground. Check this out. Okay, well, first off, ignore this. This was actually supposed to be the next upgrade to the car. Was going to get like all new brake pads, rotors, all that, make this nice, but that money went to coilovers, so these are going to have to wait, which pads are still great. They're not even worn. They've just been on the car a long time. The car doesn't get driven a lot, so it's not like they're getting worn off there. They just don't look very good. Still be functional, so it's fine. But we have this. This is going to be awesome. And you can see the coilovers get out to the outermost points now, which is awesome because that'll give you spring rate adjustment effectively. So out here, this is the stiffest, as from the closer you get out here, the less leverage this puts on your coilover. So the further you go in, the softer your spring rate gets. This, again, is temporary. Just zip tied that up for right now. I don't know if I'm going to keep it running on this side or I'm going to switch it back to this side. I might even 3D print something that'll go around the arm here to use this bracket. So these are for a 2020 Toyota CHR, and I'll try to remember to look up the part number and post that with the video. But these are an inexpensive OE line. Factory line is roughly 19 inches. These are 23. So plenty long enough. You got options for routing them. The only other thing in here, the bracket where this is supposed to go into, the tire is going to touch this. So I'm going to play around with some things, see if maybe I can get away with a small spacer to miss, because it is, I mean, it's very close. So I'm going to see if a spacer will get us by that. If not, this is going to have to go. Tie rod or sway bar is disconnected on this side. Obviously I can't take it out until I get to the other side of the car. And I just need to put the tie rod in, which didn't want to put it in before showing. Everything's clearing here. Everything is good. We're pretty well buttoned up here. Everything is just eyeballed for the moment. As far as the Wisefab goes, this ships completely adjusted except for toe. So obviously you do that when you put your tie rod in. Everything else is good there. The coilover, all of this adjustment has to be done. We did get the adjustable bump stops with these, so everything has to be set there, but we'll do that once everything's done. We'll take the car up to Tim's, give it an alignment, set the coilovers. We're going to have to put the coilovers on the back of the car as well, so we'll do that up at the shop at Tim's. But for now, I'm going to throw this tie rod in. Eyeball zero toe. Like I said, we'll do an alignment later, but eyeball zero toe, then we're going to put a wheel on this and finally be able to set it back on the ground. So, with one side done, getting ready to start on the other side, I have to move the car away from the wall here so I can actually fit down through here. So when I backed it out, I took a couple of pictures for comparison. Now the left side is the cut knuckle, and the right side is the Wisefab, and the difference is pretty crazy. So, with that, I've already got the sway bar off here, and that's pretty much it for this side. And now it's time to dig in, and hopefully have this thing wrapped up today. Alright, that's everything out, which Took a surprisingly small amount of time. So that time lapse was 29 seconds running at 60 times speed. So that's what, 29 minutes? Should be a second per minute, right? 29 minutes to remove this whole thing. Now that's nowhere near a 5-minute timeout or anything, but I don't think that's bad considering none of this stuff has been out for some years. The only thing left to remove would be the brake line. I'm going to do that last because it makes a fucking mess. Alright, yeah, so have our eccentric bolts. Going to clean these up because these go back in. It's about the only thing right here that we have to reuse. I do need to take the dust cover and the big washer out of the back of the old knuckle to put on the hub, so I can finish pulling that in. But yeah, other than that, it's about ready to start putting things back in here already. Another quick note, that actually could have been less than 29 minutes. I started fighting to get the ball joints apart and gave that a few minutes and then realized I don't need them to come apart to take this all out. So gave that up and dropped the bolts out of the arms and just took it out as one piece. So that it could have probably been closer to 20 minutes. I'm putting this together. One thing I noticed here, you can't see it, I guess there's not enough light back there, but there's a good amount of space in here. Now I can tighten the nut down on this and take that space up, but I'm not really a fan of that, putting that kind of pressure in on this. I don't think the Heim joints like it very much. I do have, these are the washers that come off of the original arm. They would have been right here, right here. They won't fit here, they're too big around. So what I'm going to do, I don't really have a better washer that's nice and thick like this. So I'm just going to take the angle grinder and take this down a little bit, just to put a flat spot to clear right here, so it'll go down in there. And that should, put one on either side, that should take up our space and make that a lot happier without having to put that kind of stress there. And also, as a bonus, you could remove them to one side, and then you get caster adjustment. So I don't know if that's the way they intended it to be, but I think that's what we're going to do. Alright, this is what we got. Take that down enough where it sits nice and flat and without touching the threads or interfering with anything. I'm going to take that down just a hair more, and then we're going to make the one for the other side match. Alright, that washer is in, it's right there. See, this is like hand tight. There's very little play in that. I'm much happier with that. So we only fit one. It took up pretty much all the space. So the other one, over here, put this one on the other side. Alright, pretty much everything's in. Got to do the tie rod end, which is next. And get the brakes put back on. So I got to swap the line and put all this back together. Now, this comes with different, these are for Ackerman, different washers for Ackerman. So you got 0 degrees, 2 dots, 3 degrees, 3 dots, 6 degrees. And you can flip these so you can go in or out with the tie rod. So what these do, you set your toe with the wheel straight. And when you turn them, it changes the pickup point in or out. So at lock, it changes where your alignment ends up. So we're going to go with 0 just to start, see how the car drives, and then we'll adjust from there. You change these at the track, then you'll have to reset your toe. So we're going to go 0, get these put on, get the brakes put on. Fun fact, your factory boot fits nicely, so we can retain that. Keep the rack nice and clean, not let stuff get in there. There was some fluid in there. Most of this wet spot is actually from brake clean, so I tried to clean this up some because it was really kind of dirty and gross. But there was some fluid in there, but since, I mean, this hasn't been off in years, and it wasn't leaking or leaving puddles or anything, so I'm not super concerned with it, considering how hard we abuse the car, but it is something to keep an eye on. Tie rod's in, eyeballed to roughly 0 toe. These are unreasonably hard to turn, so I have to look into that a little bit more. Finished pulling the hub in. The reason we didn't finish this at the shop is because I didn't realize that we were going to need the wheel in here for the speed sensors. That spaces it out. Like, the nut won't pull it all the way in without that spacer in it. It's actually pretty thick, so you have to have that in there to be able to compress this all the way down, which I didn't know. So that's all put together. I've got the cap. That'll be the next thing. You use your stock cap, throw that in there, tap it in, nice and snug. Brake line, brakes back together, done deal. And that's what it looks like all together. So I don't know why my camera's kind of tweaking out with the focus and stuff. Probably because it's so light out behind the car. Irrelevant. Let's get this brake line done. I've been dreading this because as soon as you take that off, it makes a big mess. But it's what we got to do. Okay, that is job done. This side definitely took way quicker. It was right around 3 hours, start to finish. This is still going to get revisited. This is temporary just to hold this in place. I'm going to make a mount for this, and also for back here. Again, this bracket gets in the way of the tire, so that's going to have to move. Maybe. We'll see. That'll be easier to tell once it's on the lift and we start messing with alignment and such. It does suck when you get that far and realize you forgot something. So I have to hold on to that so that can go back on there. I'm not going to take it apart right now. I'm going to grab a wheel and put on this. And hopefully the match to the wheel I have on the other side has a tire on it still. I don't know because I haven't run those wheels in a while. And I know the one on the other side, the tire is spent, but it does hold air, so that's a plus. So yeah, try to get a tire on this thing, set it down, and maybe back it out of the garage and have a look. Alright, well, we didn't have a good tire on that. It's, yeah, bad. These are not going to work. So that's a 17 by 9, 15 offset. These are a 17 by 7, 42 offset. I ran these last year with the stock knuckles with a 10 mil spacer under them, and as you can see, yeah. Also, my eyeball alignment is awful. So much toe in. But again, it's going to get a good alignment. That'll be the next thing. So yeah, I'm going to toss the bumper on and get it parked back in the garage for now until we can get it up the shop after I get a set of tires for it. So, that'll be it for this one. Hopefully this helps some people. I don't generally make videos for views. Really, I just do it because I like watching later on. It's a good trip down memory lane a lot of the time. But there wasn't a lot of info on how to do this and what you're going to need, what you have to save from your old stuff, what you're going to have to buy. So I wanted to hopefully fix that. So hopefully this helps out some people, and maybe we'll see you in the next one.